Hey, everybody.
We are live.
Hello, hey, Bernie.
Welcome.
It's great to see you all.
Pleasure. It's been a couple of weeks.
It has. It has. And thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. And it's going to be a really good show.
Yes.
And I was really trying to figure out what I was going to talk about because I've got so much to cover in a given time. But something came up in my research even today that's like, I know what I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to review some things from my last, it's actually all of my videos start out as a blog post. So I've got everything in writing, which is really a good thing. And there's one thing I want to cover before I go into it, but it involves some work that you did, Cambell, on your continent. And I want to bring that up, and then we can talk about it.
Cool. Yeah, lots going on in my continent at the moment. A lot of energy and stuff rushing around.
Yep.
So that will be awesome. And hello to everyone who's joining us here. Redcap, Mike, BC, Corey, John, Direct, Scott, Curtis, Ordinary Pete. You're not that ordinary, Pete. Come on. Corey, the Big Kush, Ed, Mike James, Jean, Marlene, Kim Ray, and everyone else who I can't read out because there's lots and lots of you there. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. And let's jump into it. Bernie's off. Oh, Bernie isn't there. I thought I was about to say you're not there, Bernie. What was that?
Bernie's busy.
We got Mike and Callum joining us here too. All the lovely souls.
Yes. Hi, everybody.
There you go. Shout outs galore. Oh, and Callum, yes, of course, talking about coffee. Just for a change. Welcome, Callum. All right, we'll hand it over to you, Michelle, and let's jump into it.
Oh, okay. I'm sure you want to do that. I'm game.
Yep.
So there's really what happens. Two big things I want to talk about tonight, but it could take us a bit. And I know you guys have some things to share too that's going to help spread the knowledge. But when I was looking at what I was going to talk about today, I'm going to go ahead and share the screen because with my work, it's much easier to
session.
Yes, much easier to show you than tell you. Much easier. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
So again, there were so many different ways I could go with this tonight. And then it was decided for me today when I started to do research for my next blog post and video. I'm going to start with something I did in my last video that's most of you are familiar with my YouTube channel. So that's where you would have seen it. And I've been doing a series called Short and Sweet, and I've been following up on comments that people have suggested, hey, go take a look at this, or you should look at that. And it's really, every time I've done this kind of work, it's taking me places that I would not have gone otherwise. And it's just it's fleshing out the bigger picture more and more. So some people directed me to Indianapolis, Indiana. And I just wanted to share with you what the Indianapolis Union Station looks like. And can everybody see? Is the screen sharing going well?
Yeah, absolutely. And the big hydrogen wave pattern as the centerpiece stained window there in the middle. I instantly noticed.
Yeah, nice machine.
Okay. So you've got the castle-like appearance. It looks like a cathedral, does it not? Cathedral castle.
Right.
Let's call it that. A cathedral castle with the big window.
Castle.
And I can't help but notice on the top what they call the bell clock tower there, the 5 or 6 slits that look like it's air cooling duct, or like, like that's a machinery design, not necessarily a defensive design. I will just quickly point out before I mute myself.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Like, seriously, they're venting, they're cooling vents.
And I've heard the word slot antenna used. I think Global Vision referred to those as slot antenna.
Okay, slot antenna, not the waveguide generator, something different.
I'm looking at these guys here on the bell tower.
Okay.
In the tower you're looking at there, right? Up under the clock.
Right under the clock was where I was talking. The ones together there.
Okay,
but
so
yes,
it kind of looks like a radiator.
Right. Yeah, the radiator, right?
Looks like a radiator right there.
And then you said Global Vision called the bottom ones
slot antenna.
Slot antenna. Okay.
These here. On some of the structures he was looking at. And then you've got the ubiquitous windows that are either 2s, 3s, and 4s that show up everywhere. And I've got lots more examples that I'm not going to go into.
Michelle.
Arches.
It's just, yeah, right. That's what they tell us, isn't it?
It's nice, isn't it? So that, we are told, was built in 1886, starting in 1886, and it opened. Oops, I got this. Okay, so this building was said to have been built in 1886. The original train station in Indianapolis was said to have opened in 1853. So we were told that this was the replacement train station. And it still has train services there today and bus services, but it is now a hotel and conference center. So this is what you've got on the inside.
When you're going to build a train station, what you do is you build it the size of a hotel, clearly.
Obviously. So next one is,
oh my gosh.
I got more. The next one is the Louisville train station. We've got it side by side.
Oh, is that, are you serious?
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Cut and paste, right?
Looks like it.
Yeah.
I think it's better.
This is the thing, right? They're factories. They're pieces of machinery.
It gets better.
Sorry,
It's better. So on the left is inside the Indianapolis Union Station, and on the right is inside the Louisville Union Station.
No.
So you've got the windows.
So
did you call it a waveform?
Different frequencies, slightly, yeah.
Yeah, different frequency.
Waveform generator.
And you've got the arches. You've got the second floor balcony here. Beautiful architecture.
And they're always wooden too, aren't they? Those balconies, like that.
It looks
they could
like
easily be retrofitted. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting too.
So
that the arches, which arc, that those arcs arc up towards that window, up towards the frequency generator.
Mm-hmm. So the one on the left is now primarily like a conference hall, conference center. And on the one on the right, I'm not sure exactly what it's used for. It looks like, there's got some things going on in there. I don't think it got converted to a conference center, but it's still open. It's still standing, which is amazing. Considering most of these older buildings get torn down
the room where the
before their
is.
time.
Like what? I'm just shocked that one of these structures, stayed intact for more than 3 years before. Right?
Exactly, and that's truth.
Yeah,
that's absolute truth.
Made of paper mache.
But it gets better. So if you look on Google Earth, there's only 172 kilometers distance between the two, or 107 miles. And when I was looking at Google Earth, I was trying to see if they were facing each other. That's hard to tell. But I think I personally think that they probably are facing each other. And again, with a relationship like that,
it would make sense. They're mirror images. So yeah.
But it gets better. I had already seen the
But
Union
wait,
Station
there's
in
more.
I had already seen the Union Station in Cincinnati from research I'd done on another alignment. And the Cincinnati Union Station is just a pure architectural wonder.
Oh, wow.
What is that? Sorry, is that a train station, did you
It's a
say?
train station. Didn't you know that?
That's a what?
And
I'm
they're
sorry, of
like
course it
they
is. What am I
definitely
thinking?
had the
It's
air
not the
blimp.
it's not it
They must have had the blimps,
it
the
looks like
air
the League of Justice.
airship.
Yeah,
Yes, yes, the League of Justice.
and actually that's gonna be in my next video, which I'm hoping comes out tomorrow because somebody said, "Hey, that looks like the Hall of Justice and the superheroes back in the
Yeah,
60s and 70s," and it
yeah,
is.
in
It's the,
cartoon.
inspiration for it. Um,
Oh, is it really? Oh, well, there you go.
it is. Yep.
What is that green thing? Is that gardens or is that it looks like a football field?
Waterfall, maybe?
It's a fountain.
It is a fountain, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, it's water, is it? Okay.
So
Oh,
you
it's
got
like this step
resonating
down
water
fountain.
flow
Okay,
going
yeah,
through.
And this is
yeah.
gonna be on my, my thing tomorrow. Get a little sneak
A little
preview.
sneak peek. Oh,
Yep. Um, let's see. Where is it? Indianapolis, I think is where it
and once
is.
again, I just have to remind everybody Michelle's great point that it's Piercing the Veil of Illusion is her website that she does all of the work and documents it and lays out the information in blog posts of well-documented research that it's all there for you to see and be able to verify for yourselves.
Thank you, Bernie. So this is what Cambell was talking about. Anybody ever watch Super
Ooh.
Friends back in the 60s and 70s? That's what that's about, and that's
Yep.
going to be showing up in my
It
next video.
it's a bit of a ominous image, that one, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Big
and then
shadow figures. We got Batman the vampire on the side.
come to find out, it was the inspiration for that image of the Hall of Justice. And it's one of many cities in the United
Unbelievable.
States anyway. I'm not sure about Canada and other countries, but Cincinnati's called the Queen City. I know Charlotte's called the Queen City. I came across another Queen City. There's a bunch of them. And apparently this almost got destroyed, but they saved it and it's still used as a train station, but it's got a lot of other stuff there. Big entertainment center now. But when at the time that this was published, it looks like it was going to be going the way of the dinosaur.
Thank God. Like it's just such a travesty. Like they're more than just aesthetically pleasing. Like they're just so beautiful, and the amount of work it would have actually taken to build these things. It's mind-blowing.
They're beautiful, and as all of this is about, they're scientific instruments.
Exactly. They're definitely they are
It's all
high
about
pieces
function.
of technology.
So this dome, this half dome at Cincinnati's Union Station is the largest half dome in the Western Hemisphere. And what they're telling us, it used to be the world's largest half dome. I'm not sure where the the largest is now, but it's just an amazing. I mean, it's an amazing place.
I can't help but
So
feel like that
look at the
was
way
the
that's
portal
built.
that you'd walk through and pop in and out of the actual station.
Yeah, right, yeah. Well, yeah, it's funny they call it a station when you're not actually stationary when you're there. It looks like it's, if you look at the front of the glass, if that's pumping out energy just going across that pond with all those step downs, those fractal sort of step, I mean, and then it's even got the pathways shooting out, the energy in a burst there. It's just, this is the thing, people say, oh no, they just built it, but they never talk about the plumbing systems, about the fountains, about why everything's so geometrically laid out about why they all have the same features. It's, that there's been a bit of this hyper focus on, oh, well, this building was, this one building was this and this and this. Well, doesn't mean a lot in the bigger,
more so, Cambell,
grand scheme. Of course, there's false ones.
But you just pointed out for plumbing. But how about the ones that were claimed they couldn't make toilets in all of them, yet they can do these crazy fountains?
And there's a story behind the fountain. There's a story behind the fountain, and I can't remember exactly off the top of my head of what it was at this location. But again, with a lot of these, classical architecture buildings that we see, they all have fountains, beautiful fountains. So I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm agreeing. It seems like there's, it's a connected system somehow between the building and the water and the shape of the fountain, things like that.
It's definitely, water was a big part of it, And if they didn't have toilets and they weren't eating, they would have needed good water, I guess, with a lot more sort of energy in it, wouldn't they?
Right. And that's just another great example of how ludicrous the narrative is.
Exactly.
Yeah, they could do this, but they couldn't do that. So, and that's right in there with the
just
fireplaces.
Looking at fountain here. Yep, fireplaces, chimneys. Fountain is, the etymology comes from spring. So it's actually got to do with to spring forth as well. Like to bring forth. Like spring, we have like the spring, the stream. But we also have like to spring, things spring out of thin air kind of thing. So it's, that's kind of the etymology of fountain. So, when you look into these words, they all have at least a slightly different meaning to what we've been told. And if you follow it down, most of it ends up at energy, really, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. It does. It does. And there's so many more examples that keep coming up once you become aware of that. So we get back to our triangle here, which is pretty darn close to an equilateral triangle when you measure the distances between them. It's not exact, but it's pretty darn close considering it's supposed to be random. Random settlement and construction. So I'm just pointing out that there is a geometric relationship between these three stations. And St. Louis is not too far away in the other direction, and that's coming up in the one I'm putting out tomorrow. That's provided I can get the research done, but I'm pretty sure I can, which is why I'm saying that. So, we're talking about perfectly placed, probably perfectly pitched frequency generators for whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
And I know there's a connection between the train stations and the trains and the free energy system, and they were all functioning in there together. It's just, we're left to scratch our heads and try to figure out how and what and why they were doing what they were doing.
The more you look at it, I mean, it's like what you've gone into with the circuit board cities. It just looks like a macro of what they're now building in computers.
Exactly. And it also, though, that they had to be the old technology, I believe, like the steam powered stuff. It wasn't, we were burning coal to heat the steam. I believe it had more to do with the cold fusion electrolysis, producing hydrogen, as well as pulling the electrical differential through the atmospheric electricity as getting your charge for it. And then it's the a cold plasma technology that is like the wireless Tesla style of what was actually the energy source or the functioning electricity source of it. And the shapes, like the resonating energy, so it's turning sound energy as well, and your etherical, like mass vibration energy. and trapping that and then converting that into both heat and electrical energy somehow is what would have it's the only thing that I can see. Well, it's just in the design. It's capturing and harnessing it just from the geometry of it and the materials that it's made out of.
Yeah.
Definitely some experiments to come.
Yeah. And there's so many reasons why I don't believe that the original civilization was fighting each other and military in any way. I think it was in harmony. And this scenario that we're seeing right here with the train stations and their relationship to each other, this pattern is repeated all over the world. And I've been studying alignments for over 3 years now, and I've seen massive train stations in Mongolia, literally.
Right.
Yeah.
And the beautiful
It's-
train stations of Europe. And again, a lot of the older ones are gone, and they all had those
Yeah.
windows.
Really.
So I think humanity was at a higher level of consciousness to have created all of that, and then we got this narrative that just completely turned everything upside down. And then they started using this system for their own benefit. And that's unfortunately the world that we live in today.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Is they still seem to be using all these buildings, ones that are left, to capture our energy, but in a different way. Like the sports fields and train stations, right? They're just full of people going in and out. That they're getting charged to go on their little train.
Yeah.
So they're all being used. The Parliament buildings, of course, right? They're bloody covens or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, so they know that they're energy devices. They're just inverting the energy that they're used for and that they're collecting.
Right.
And
Right.
it's macro processors, and they're harnessing the electromagnetic spectrum of the emotional charge of it. It's the emotional energy, right? Why they're in the coliseums, in the sporting, and then the fear that they put out between everybody and whatnot, or the anger or the hate, right? The rivalry of the competing teams and stuff like that.
I'm going to head back to this.
Yeah, the friction.
That brings to mind more that I talked about that kind of thing in this particular blog post about the old racetracks, and exploring the idea. This is Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and I mean, you could fit the Vatican in it. You could fit the Kentucky Derby, Yankee Stadium, the Rose Bowl, the Roman Coliseum, and the Wimbledon campus, all inside this one gigantic circuit. And they call it a circuit, the racing circuit. And some of the older ones.
Is it a car? Is it used for cars? Still used?
Yeah.
They're still using
Yeah,
that?
this one's still used. This
That's
is the
massive.
Indianapolis 500 Raceway.
Oh, that's okay. So, yeah, Indianapolis 500 or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. And then these older ones, this one's no
Wow.
longer used. It was only used for, I guess, 32 years, and they had to close it for safety concerns, right? Was it originally built for racing?
Of
And,
course.
they found out they had to close it down
Yeah,
because
I know,
people
right?
were getting hurt. But if you look at the before picture and the after
It's
picture, I mean,
always
it
for our
looks,
safety.
it just looks like the road was so well made that even though you see some overgrowth on the picture from nowadays, it's still in pretty good shape. That's over in England.
Very good condition. Yeah.
And then some of the other ones, somebody had suggested the idea that these were also particle accelerators and energy generators, power generators.
Absolutely. Like it makes sense, right? It would be the higher dimensional portal energy if we're talking about these macro portal systems, I guess essentially is the only way to the reality that it is. So maybe we all be able to get off world within our lifetime still.
We'll see. This is a diagram of the Large Hadron Collider, which is CERN. The lovely experiments they're doing over there. Goodness knows what they're bringing in and have been bringing in and doing.
Right? Like, do you remember when they actually published, they officially published that they had captured an interdimensional entity on it? It was about 2 or 3 years after they like first started running the major experiments there, and it was this giant breakthrough, and one of the head physicists there is like, well, it's an energy being living in a different light wave than what the visible spectrum is, and then we've heard nothing of it since.
Yeah. And then research that I've been doing lately is
Interesting.
clearly showing the World Wide Web, the development of the World Wide Web and the internet both were connected to CERN. So interesting stuff when you start
Definitely.
going to look.
Yeah, I saw it. They're now releasing phones that won't work unless you've got, a Bill's prick card. And I heard that they're going to start shutting down the older phones so that they don't work. That they won't be able to get YouTube and things like this. And so basically, they're going to what they want to do is shut down all the phones that you can still use freely, and then make them all so that the two-step verification that they've got us all used to over the last few years. Now it's going to be one step with the little card. So look out for that one, guys.
We'll see what happens. So some of the other tracks I looked at aren't in existence anymore. This one was supposed to have opened in Texas in 1969 and closed in 2017. And already it's looking pretty rough. But again, you see the banked turns here. Looks kind of like an earthwork. And then I thought this one was particularly, this is one in the Poconos. This is up in the kind of a mountainous area in Pennsylvania. This is they're called super speedways, of which Indianapolis and Daytona are both super speedways. But I want to get down to this one. This one's still in existence. But this poor one in Arizona was said to have been built for horse racing in 1965, opened in 65, and then after only a few years, they stopped using it. And they were said to have spent $10 million on building it. It operated for only 2.5 seasons, and it was never used as a facility like that again. So again, you have to wonder what was that all about, other than obviously they didn't want it to exist anymore. And that's a typical story.
It's just excuses,
right?
Really.
What sort of black ops, demon entities were brought in and summoned in there, held in there, God knows what, but it's insane. It's just, the more you look into it, it's just rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole, every single place you go.
And there's more.
Right? But wait.
Okay.
All in now.
But wait, there's more.
More. This is where it ties into your work. We're going to go back here, and we're going to go to Indiana, a place called Peru, Indiana. And we're going to look at the 7 pillars.
Peru in Indiana.
Peru, Indiana.
Of course.
Okay. Peru, Indiana. North of Indianapolis. And you know what, Campbell? Somebody left me a note saying it looked just like your starts with an N. Up in Arnhem Land.
Yeah, out in the middle of Australia, Nangawawa something.
Yeah, so I'm going to pull this picture up here because this is going in my thing tomorrow. And this is where the synchronicity came in, because it just happened to be, I was working on this today and our call was tonight.
The universe is telling us we are doing the right thing.
Oh, there it is, Nawala. Kambell, yeah.
Wow. Eh?
So,
Look at that.
and I wouldn't have known this except somebody left me a comment saying, "Hey, that looks like something Campbell just did," or work
And
that
that's
Campbell
why
did.
all of you in the community and joining us here are so important and help us out, because, you know, 2/3 of everything we discover
Exactly.
is from your guys' experiences, and I encourage
You
you
guys.
to always take pictures, take video, do not be shy, and upload it, and, you know, start it out, and just even cell phone videos on your own YouTube accounts that, you know, you don't even have to be in it, you don't even have to say anything, just post it to the accounts that you're using to watch us, and give us permission and we will include it.
So,
Yep, definitely. And I've got a Telegram too. You can upload videos straight to that if you want as well. If you don't have any other way to do it, just upload them to Telegram.
yep, and absolutely, you know, same thing for
Sorry,
me.
Michelle.
I mean, I'm getting a lot of stuff coming in, but you know, encourage you to do that because I look at everything and I don't have enough hours of the day in the day to, you know,
I
get it all
try and look at
worked in
everything,
there,
but oh my gosh.
but I do, you know, it's on my list and it's going to get in there somehow, some way. And you know, this is
Mm,
actually pretty deep. The pictures most of the pictures of this location in Australia that I saw were of the inside. So this is one of the few pictures that I saw of the outside, and you have the trees here, so it's really kind of hard to tell. But what you can see is that up at the top
yes.
here, it's like the similar kind of stacking going on. And then you see this little skinny guy here. You've got the same skinny guy here.
Ah, nice.
And I think I didn't look at the video, Campbell, but it looked like you were wondering if it was natural or man-made. It looked like that was the gist of it.
Yeah. Yeah, the story was a bit weird. That they're trying to say it's like 100,000 years old or something, and basically built over, 5,000 years of people going in and just slowly digging it out. But then there's all these paintings on the ceiling, and so it's one of these outdoor, museum type things. And so the ceiling's covered in paintings, and you're not allowed to touch them because they say that they're 5,000 years old or whatever. But then the
Isn't that
floor is
delicate?
covered in rock that's fallen from the ceiling, right? But the story is that they dug it out. So how does that work?
Yeah.
Like, it just
Yeah.
doesn't make sense at all, right?
Right.
So, and there's another picture too. There's one, and it's a bit, it's really hard to get pictures of this place, but there's one where it's looking through, like what we can see there on the right, and in the background there's a wall of rock that just looks like it's pillars. It just looks like an old building behind that. So there's a lot of stuff going on around there. Yeah.
Let's take a look at that. Because I know there were a lot of those. Just had trouble finding pictures of the entrance, especially for the purposes of
Yeah. See all
comparison to the 7 pillars.
it's mad, but you can see all the artwork. So that's why we're not allowed to go there and do anything or question anything. But yeah, the artwork can't be whatever, however old they're saying, 100,000 years, if they then dug it out and the ceiling fell down. That's just silly.
So there's some of the pillars
But
you're talking about.
and the other thing is see how the floor's dirt? Like the floor it's not a rock floor, it's dirt, it's just earth. But in some places it's not even tall enough to stand up in. But they dug it out over thousands of years. They just didn't quite make it tall enough to stand up in. It's
Yeah.
Okay, that one on the far right there, see that one? How you can see the different layers in it?
Hang on, let me go. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get out of there too soon.
Oh.
Okay. Here we go. It's the same thing.
So I took a minor in geology, and I
Yeah, that one
ended
there.
up
See that one?
dropping out. I was so frustrated by the amount of stuff they claimed had to be naturally formed, and it's like, Right, so it just naturally forms these exact same architectural structures with different minerals on the other sides of the world, all supposedly from different eras, that just are identical and look like they are melted or extremely eroded, intelligently made, intelligently designed buildings and structures. And that's it's undeniable. It's like my major strength, like my
I don't
biggest
like to
strength,
talk about that.
is mathematics. And it's like when something is beyond statistically impossible, like just one example is statistically impossible, and then you literally have thousands of these that you have to multiply against impossible times by impossible times by impossible times by impossible times by impossible. And that's like literally every field of academia these days with what they're trying to claim in archaeology, in geology, in energy, and everything. It's insane.
Well,
And
you know
you're
what gets me with geology is this whole thing of building up layers. You know, they go, look, you can see the layers, right? All the strata lines we see. Oh, look, they're layers. Okay, well, show me the point where one layer stops and another one starts. What happens? Does everything on the Earth just stop for 100 years, and when we get this? If you know what I mean, it's just going to be a continuous build up. There ain't going to be. Sure, you might get big storms and fires where you'll get like a line of ash or something, but as far as looking at it going, look, that's all just layering. That doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, and I mean it's as far as I'm concerned, it's old masonry, but that's I look at
Yeah, exactly.
sedimentary
It's collapsed and
formations and I
pancaked.
see
Yeah,
masonry. So and I want to make a point
exactly.
with
Yeah.
that, with these similarities, because this is in Indiana. And like we saw in that picture, let me figure out where it is. Here it is. I mean, there's like we're talking about, Bernie. I mean, there's enough similarities here to be beyond statistical significance.
Right? Oh, exactly.
I mean, like I said, you've got the exact same kind of, 2,
The
3, 4, 5
layout.
layers here at the top, and then you've got, some pillars that look really close to the same shape.
Exact same architectural design, and it's the exact same level or amount of erosion, like the tens of thousands or the hundreds of thousands, but it's that they're equal geological ruined leftover structures from maybe 2 or 3 or 4 resets ago, right? Where it lines up perfectly that way, and that's the only way to actually explain it. Like, yeah, I couldn't agree more with you.
And I do tend to see it more as, this kind of thing is the most ancient infrastructure, if you will, and that it as we go on in time, it gets progressively more what we would know as modern. What we would have been taught as medieval, and what's Renaissance, and so on and so forth. So to me, this is like the oldest, and that's how they've been able to get away with calling it natural, because there's an element of doubt as to whether or not it was, did Earth do it or did man do it?
Yeah.
And I think man did
Wind
a lot.
erosion.
And
Absolutely.
and that's part of the deception. And they've really done a number on a lot of things. And that's something I'm going to kind of head into, because just a little bit about the pillars in the 7 pillars in Peru, Indiana. They're called a limestone formation. Well, limestone's an ancient building material, and it's been voted number 1 of the 7 wonders of Miami County in Indiana. It's held sacred by the Miami Nation of Indiana, and they own land on the south bank of the river across from this location, and they hold ceremony there and so forth. Well, where is Miami most associated with, even in the United States, is Florida. There's a Miami in Indiana, there's a Miami in Oklahoma, there's a Miami in Ohio. But we don't hear about those. We hear about Miami, Florida.
No.
And, so, again, finding things like this is really interesting to me because, and your work, because when I was tracking the alignment, this is one of the first long distance ones I did. I was following an alignment that started in Montreal, Canada. And it took me it's taken me on quite a trip. And in this particular section, I started on Sumba Island and went to Cairns, Australia. Sumba Island is in Indonesia. And it took me through Arnhem Land, where the Nawarla,
That's where that thing is, yeah.
where that place
Yeah.
is. Sorry, guys. And
the ancient sites, let's call that.
And so Arnhem Land, we're told Aboriginal people have lived there continuously for 40,000 years, and approximately half the land of Kakadu National Park is Aboriginal. Okay, so they're telling us that, and then if you look at this particular map, kind of ignore the beware of crocodiles warning sign up here. You see the mineral leases here. Mineral lease. And I think there's some rare earth elements in here too, if I remember correctly. It's got one of the most productive uranium mines in the world in this area. That's what it is, uranium.
Really?
So
I just have to point out that's just like right by the Grand Canyon there, and the area Rex has been exploring right by the Grand Canyon pyramids there. That it is also, and it's badlands that look just like these same areas. They look like a plasma catastrophe or something, and that's very fascinating. That
could that be residue from
uranium?
mining?
I think,
yeah. Could that be residue from some kind of explosion? Do you think?
I think,
or is it? Sorry.
It's more like the ancient civilization. Everything on the earth was like, so for example, all of the elements that they use for technology devices and cars and all that kind of stuff, right? You need certain components in order to get it to run. You follow me?
Yep.
So they need all of these elements
Yeah.
for that, the lithium, all of different ones. I think the earth was functioning the same way. I don't think it was random.
I gotcha.
I don't think it was random. I think everything was specifically placed. We're talking alchemy, right, Bernard?
Oh, yes.
Alchemy.
Yeah.
They were alchemists, and so they knew how to work with elements.
You're going to the legends and the teachings of Thoth and before the Atlanteans and back there.
I'll take it. They knew what they were doing. They knew where they were. Everything worked together. And unfortunately, the ones that took over the grid knew that, so they know where to go. And that's what the gold rushes are about. There's a place in Nevada that has I think it's lithium, that Tesla just built a big factory there for their cars. And I was following an alignment. I was following a long distance alignment in two directions, and I was hitting these big places. There was some kind of mine or mineral element occurrence on every location that I looked at, and that was one of them. So they know where these places are, and it's like they made a beeline for it when they took everything over. And where I'm going with this is, I think that the builders of this civilization are like right in front of us, and we don't see it because of what has taken place here and how everything got turned upside down. You know, I don't think we're looking for aliens. And, you know, I think the original peoples were the builders of this civilization. And I'm going to go more into that here in just a moment.
It would make sense. I mean, yeah. One thing we don't see a lot of is orphans and orphan trains of Indigenous people. They all seem to be us, right? Whiteys.
A
Well,
lot of
all
genocide.
people.
A lot of
And
genocide.
I fully agree with you there. I think that like we are the aliens in the sense that humanity in the grand time, like the Kali Yuga, the Baktun of the Mayans, or the precession of the equinoxes with humanity as we go from the golden age down to the silver, the iron, the stone, and back up, the 24,000 years. And that if you've ever looked at Mars and the Cydonia region there, all the pyramids on Mars and whatnot, and that one half of Mars is completely covered with craters while the other half isn't. And you have the asteroid belt, which should be, modern science can't explain it at all. And it throws off the theories for how a solar system was formed. And it's that there was a bigger fourth planet that we probably most likely were a part of, that we were a spacefaring society, and then we were in some sort of galactic war or war with ourselves, destroyed ourselves, and then have been punished and lost our memory until we can make peace with ourselves again. And we have to stop killing each other before we are allowed to, you know, regain or rejoin the galactic universe. But
We're definitely in quarantine, but I really think that this whole situation has been manipulated to create that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that
definitely.
some very, very evil forces came in and, you know, figured out a way to take everything over. And we're at the tail end of that right now, but we're also at the time of awakening and waking up, and the veil's falling away, and apocalypse, which my understanding means lifting the veil or something along those lines.
Yep.
You know, that
the lifting of the veil. Yep.
so we're living in those times. At the same time, this other timeline was playing out, the one that was forced on us, and hence we're able to communicate like this. And I want to go down. I'm going to come back to this at one point, but I just want to point out these are pictures of Arnhem Land. And again, I can show you the same landforms in other countries.
So is that Australia?
That's Australia.
Because that looks just like Venezuela, right?
Yep.
With the Angel Falls there and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yep, this one here.
The bottom one, yeah.
Yep. But I'm kind of making a beeline down here for these pictures. Let's see, these are in Arnhem Land.
Ooh.
Okay, I've seen examples of this in all kinds of different places. And one of those places that I want to share with you is in Iran, in southern Iran. And it's in, used to be Hormuz. So there's a Hormuz Island. And then this place is now called...
There.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, right in the Gulf there of... Yeah, where it meets the Indian Ocean.
Yep. So let's see if I have a picture of it. So it's right here that I'm talking about. So you've got the Arabian Sea here. You've got, this is the, there's a whole bunch of trouble in this area because it impacts the flow of oil through here. But this area was the most important city in ancient Iran, was Hormuz city. And this is where I'm talking about. Okay. So we're going to go back and forth here a little bit because these are some of the landforms in that part of Iran. It's not as clear in this one, but when you get to this one, and then this one, and you look at
That's a
And
good
they
one.
label
And you
those
look at,
as castles, though, in Iran and Persia, right? That's the difference.
there we
Is
go.
that
In the Middle
that
East, they do.
they're
Yep.
actually recognized as ruins.
Yep.
You know, and again, this is, I see this kind of thing all over, you know, even the state I live in, Arizona, this kind of stuff is everywhere. And again, I don't see natural anywhere.
Right?
I
know.
see ancient infrastructure. I've got too many things open here. I'm losing myself. Okay.
I couldn't agree more with you,
Never
Michelle,
had
though.
things
I've got a couple of hikes coming up here that I'm going to be taking some drone footage of in the next few weeks before winter comes in Canada. But that should show some pyramid cities in Drumheller, as well as some crazy underground under mountain cities by Banff and Lake Louise, Canada.
Very cool. I've seen some of the ruins in Drumheller, and then I can make comparisons to the same thing in Turkey.
Right?
You know, steps and things called hoodoos, which are like phalluses, but you find phalluses in a lot of different places.
Or mounds that are flat topped and cardinally aligned that, you know, just can't
Is that
call
what
it
a hoodoo is?
pyramid.
Do you know what a hoodoo is?
They're also known as
Yeah, you
cherry
just
chimneys.
enlightened me. It's a
Cherry chimneys is what they call them too
What is it?
sometimes. They look like columns or phalluses.
So basically-
Exactly.
Yep. So this is the one. These are what I'm talking about.
Okay.
This
So
is
they're
in-
actual big columns, are they? They're not little things.
But
like
they have the
carvings,
head
so-
on top, though.
right.
Or
Right,
the
and-
hat on top.
Because we had a band in the 80s called the Hoodoo Gurus. So, yeah, I never knew that. The Hoodoo Gurus, what are they gurus of? That's a bit rude.
Yeah, I'm looking here. There's one particular one with the hoodoos and some steps right by them, and I don't see it in this particular display, but it's the same.
I think
Same
I was
idea.
actually walking up there hiking about a month ago with my friend's two children.
Oh, wow.
The exact spot you're talking about is fairly famous and
I
accessible.
mean, there's steps.
Park. Yeah, right? I know.
That
There's steps
looks like
right
a
next to
doorway as well.
And always mines everywhere. Oops.
So anyway, those are hoodoos, and they're all over the place. And so this is a point that I want to make. And if you look up Aborigines tribe of Reuben, you're going to find something. And I've encountered tribes of Israel all over the world. And so I think their identity was misappropriated. And
Yeah, well,
I can make
they
a
used to speak a
connection.
language. Do you know about Magyar, the Magyar language?
Like Hungarian? Magyar?
Exactly. That's where its origins are, but it was found in Australia. And the natives were speaking it, and also the stories say that there were, Caucasians down here as well that were speaking it. But this is pre-1788.
Mm-hmm. So again, the tribes of Israel, and so this is the connection I can make now, just based on evidence that I've uncovered. So, I told you before that the Miami, Florida is the place that's the best known for the word Miami. And this was all Seminole land. And
that's a
the
tribe, is it? Or?
Seminoles, yeah, it's a tribe, and they were one of the 5 civilized tribes of North America. The Cherokees were, the Chickasaw were,
Okay.
the Muskogee. Anyway, they were called the civilized tribes.
Because Florida's one of the places, and one of the names that you see in all the maps going back, Florida's always there.
So we've got Miami down here. This the Seminoles today are down kind of in the Everglades. Then there might be another place where they have a reservation, but most of the Seminoles end up in Oklahoma with the Trail of Tears along with the Cherokee. They were forced off their lands in the 1830s, and they were moved out to Oklahoma, which was called Indian Territory. So I just want to make a connection here, because you've got Highway 41 originating in Miami or ending in Miami, depending on how you're looking at it. And it goes all the way up to northern Michigan here. It cuts right through Indiana, or between Illinois and Indiana. And even though that Seven Pillars place would be somewhere around here, I can still make a connection to Miami here because of this road, and because the Miami Nation is in Indiana. This is just me talking.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Seminoles identify, let me get that out of there. The Seminoles identify as the tribe of Reuben.
Tribe of Reuben.
So, I just think that we've been lied to a lot. And that I just wanted to make that point. That there's a connection.
Just in case you didn't
that
know.
Looks an awful lot like the German flag right there.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, doesn't it?
But then again, if you look at the medicine wheel, I'm gonna type in Sioux medicine wheel and see what comes up.
Is that
I think they're the same colors. Pretty sure they're the same colors.
Right? No doubt. The Sioux Germans.
So anyway, I just wanted to point out that there's a case to be made that things aren't what they seem, and that the narrative that we've been given is just completely fabricated. It's got basis in real things, but what we've been taught as real just is what the controllers want us to believe.
Exactly.
So they can control us.
Yeah, completely flipped.
Like the fact that Benjamin Franklin supposedly discovered electricity in the mid 1700s, yet we're digging up the Tartarian, the mud flood, the Antiquitech communities, and the flat earth that look into it as well. I must give you guys credit. That in German and French science book from the 1600s and older has full chapters describing the frequency waves, how much energy you will pick up from depending how high up your antenna is and how long your grounding wire are. And that that is a full advanced understanding of electricity and plasma science. I guess it's almost plasma electricity, but it's just so insane that it's like, oh, some guy with a kite discovered it and got shocked, but he lived, and before that it was nothing. Yet there's the Baghdad batteries everywhere. There's the dendrolites in Egypt, and now we look at these cathedrals, these spires, and it's like, oh, no, put it in with these same. No wonder there were the book burnings. They didn't it's like, oh, how can we charge you for electricity? Well, all right, let's burn the books so that you can't get it for free and you can't go to your local pastor to light up the community anymore. And it's ridiculous.
Now, there's one more
Yeah,
point I
yeah.
want to make,
Pay us
Okay,
for it.
yep.
because other than that, I've finished sharing what I had planned to share tonight. And that is the confusion that comes up because the tribes of Israel and the Moorish people are the one and the same. And when we talk about Moors, we're talking about ancient people. And so they go back to Mu, and their civilization went on up through Atlantis,
Yeah.
and I think up to the
Yeah,
present
yeah.
day. So, and it's also connected with Islam, which has to do with connecting with our higher selves. It's the
All
like
the
Sufi
religion.
Islam.
Sufism,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
Okay, it's
absolutely.
okay. So it was all together, and then they were the Masons. So all of their symbology and everything else got, pulled out of there, and
It was
we
taken over. It
see
was corrupted by Zionism in the
the
70s.
all-seeing eye, the pyramid with the eye on top of it. We see that as Big Brother, but it started out as, we've got our divine source up here, and we're we're working our way up that way. So it all got fragmented and smashed, and we've been taught to all of this, racial division and all this stuff. It only benefits the controllers, because they're the ones that are behind it. And they're the ones that took this legacy and just, took everything from the original people. And now to say something like that in our world where we haven't been taught anything like that sounds nuts, but it's not. It's not nuts. We're looking for everything else to explain how all of this Greco-Roman architecture and all this other stuff got built. And it's like, it's right there. They're right there. They're the original people of the land. And this is all over the world.
Yeah.
Right. And like,
look what they did to the swastika, and we know that used to mean, good luck and fortune, right? And then that obviously got inverted, but then along with that is the whole World War II thing, right? Like that whole narrative, we're starting to work out that World War II, all that was a smash and grab. They were just going in and destroying buildings and ripping out all the antiquitech and stealing what they could. So even what we think that war was is not what we think it was. And then on top of that, they've completely inverted this extremely old symbol.
And that's not the only one. I mean,
all
they've
of them
inverted everything.
Right? Exactly.
Everything.
We live in backwards these days. Anything I see on TV, I'm like, okay, the exact inverse is true.
I mean, I have.
Yeah.
They got into our food, they got into our medicine, they got into our heads.
Well, our medicine was natural, homeopathic. It was through energy and plants. And what did they replace it with? Chemicals, which are toxic. Like, it's absolutely crazy. Like, balance. Okay, so healthy life balance. So no, okay, we're just going to give you this extreme amount of this substance that is thousands of times more stronger, so that you are as unbalanced as possible. Everything is backwards land.
Somebody's. I just want to
health, right? They kill to heal. Mad. Sorry.
I just want to hang on just a sec. Let me pull it up here. Okay, here we go. One more thing here. One more point to make here that somebody in the chat pointed out, and it's important. Hang on just a sec. Okay. So this is the Aboriginal flag.
That's a good point. Someone just said, like, I'm sorry. I'll be quiet. You go.
No, I was just going to say, this is the Aboriginal flag.
Oh, sorry.
Is it showing?
Ah, of course.
So you've got the, the same yellow, black, and red.
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, the rising sun. Yeah, exactly. It's the exact same colors. I don't know why I didn't pick up on that.
Yes. So that's just
another. And so they tell us that that's the rising sun over the red center, but they don't explain why the sky is black.
Right. So again, just more connections.
It's all the same. It's all the same. And I've seen this number 7 popping up about 7 times in this interview. But someone mentioned, breaking mirrors, right? We're told that breaking mirrors is bad luck. I wonder why that is. Why don't they want us to break mirrors?
Right.
Well, you break the mirror, you're trapping the demon inside. You
And there's one more
the bubble.
one more point, and then I'll be done.
No.
I promise.
Don't ever be done.
No, you're right.
This is not information that would be well known among the general population, and I'm sure it's not well known amongst the indigenous populations of the earth, because if you've been brutalized and traumatized and genocided by the controlling powers, are you going to necessarily put that out there? If they've already been after you, and they've already wiped the slate clean with what I think was the mudblood. So I don't think anybody would know this if you were to ask somebody who was indigenous. I do think that the wisdom keepers would know it. The elders would know it, but not necessarily anybody.
Definitely.
I mean, the trauma, when you think about it, the trauma is just so deep.
And it's a trauma cycle causing more trauma, right? Trauma causes trauma causes trauma. And that's why they do it. And that's why they got us to do it to each other and ourselves.
Right. And they can't touch us. So they had to get us to do it. So they had to come up with this.
Exactly right. That's the worst
and
part.
The scary thing is it's I don't think they're going to get away with it, but it's worked really well for them to get us at each other.
It has. It did work. Yeah. But this division stuff, but now, everyone's seeing straight through it now. I don't, we have one. We've just got to get through, get through the crap first. That's the only thing is how long is it going to take to get through this? But I mean, we spent all those years thinking crap, we've brought it on ourselves, no matter how we want to look at it. We've all had fear, those thoughts, that person sucks. Oh, I hate that. Oh, I want to do, so that all builds up energy and that all comes back to you in experience. So the best thing we can do is stop putting that out there, right? Start focusing on what we want and start getting that stuff coming back to us.
Absolutely. And that's key. Focus on what you want. Focus on the world you want. Focus on the life you want. Make choices that respect life and each other, and not the stuff that's being pushed in the media.
And decide what you stand for, because you're going to be tested soon if you haven't been already. You're going to need to know what you stand for and where the limit is and where the line is and who you allow to cross that line and where the point is that no one crosses. We all need to start really sort of digging a bit deeper and really just, making conviction of who we are, what do we stand for, and then standing in that, because the confrontation is getting close, guys. But that's all it is. This is all based on us acquiescing, right? So if we have the fortitude to stand up and say no, it all stops. So that's really what we need to work on, I think, is our inner strength and who we really are.
Right. Well, and that's why the lockdown was truly the best thing to happen to humanity, and what has truly backfired on the powers that be, because they were losing control, because this paradigm shift into a new conscious age, moving out from the Iron Age now back up into the Copper Age. And it's that we've now been able to everybody has been forced to no longer be like the daily matrix system and routine, and have had to be forced to deal with themselves, their inner selves, as well as their family and their communities, and either make peace with it and start looking into it and what resonates with them, And that's why that's such an acceleration in the communities online and the amount of information coming out, as opposed to before. It was all too easy to be like, no, that's just fake, whatever. And, wake up and be tired because you're having to drive down 2 hours to get to some place that you hate, that you're dreading, to then, be an ant in the ant box all day, to then, like, it's amazing. And it's that people are finally able to resonate with themselves and hear themselves and hear the spirits of the earth and of nature, and just even going for like a walk or the hikes, as opposed to the fighting or the drinking or whatever, like it's game over. And that's why they're making it mandatory for that other topic. But that right there, it backwards world. Trust the science. Okay, everybody has to take something that is completely experimental and will probably cause cancer in 90% of people, over a few years. But hey, let's force everyone to be on it. Like, but anyways, that's
it's falling apart in Australia. Like, this is they've pushed too hard. In Australia yesterday, we had a protest from nurses, and they were all socially distanced. Half of them were wearing masks, half of them were vaccinated, and they were basically sitting there saying, we're for medical choice. This is, you can't force this stuff. And so they're doing everything the government has asked and mandated, plus they're the nurses. And the police had to come down, and they didn't know what to do, because what do they do now? They're saying this is all for your health. Now we've got nurses obeying all these stupid mandates and saying, but this is still wrong. We're on the front line. We see what's going on, and people need choice. The government have put themselves in a corner they can't get out of. They just have. Like, we've just won this. So, there's no way they can come back from this. It's ridiculous. It's great. I think it's awesome.
And that's why you have to have that positive reinforcement every day. So, Michelle, this right here, the picture I have up, is Medicine Hat.
I'm just running off for one tick.
Some more with an earbud.
Right? Yeah, that's actually how this picture went famous when it was first trending there. It was known as the Indian with an iPod. And it's like, okay, well, in reality, that is a First Nations. And then we will see if I can zoom in. I can't. Darn it. But there's another head face right here. And then there's the Olmec right here. And another Olmec right there. So there's 4 heads, and this is an oil derrick, and that is a service road. So this is from the sky, from almost space, and it's the exact same sort of scope as Nazca, Peru, yet this is in Medicine Hat, Alberta, only 100 kilometers away from where I live, so I'm definitely going to be checking this out.
Very cool.
That is just the beginning. Oh, wait, Michelle, there's more.
Yay, my kind of guy.
Right? So you can see like the Olmec face there, the Aztec chief compared. And this guy is also there, the big chief with the dragon head mask. And that is also undeniable, the man with the featherhead serpent dress. And like, he's documenting.
Now this is Alberta, right?
Yeah, this is in Alberta, Canada.
Not Mexico.
Supposedly was, covered with ice, and had nothing here but a bunch of buffalo. But wait, there's more. Each one of these numbered sites. So all of this this website here is the Faram. So the FARAM Foundation.com. And Dr. Faram is one of the only real archaeologists in the world. I think he's in his 80s now, probably. But why nobody's ever heard of this is because, well, that's what happened to archaeologists that actually discovered things and told the truth. And he discovered what he called geoglyphs. And what geoglyphs are is they are, and so the numbers are where he found each geoglyph site, and they are sets of megalithic stones in lines. So he'd measure the length of the megalithic line or the geoglyph, and then the direction from north or south, the angle of it. And from that, and I'm sorry, guys, this only works on a globe model. I'm sorry. But this is what is everywhere on the world, is these geoglyphic sites that you measure the length of them and the angle of them, and it gives you direct spots. So this is from Alberta, right where I am. It plots out to the tip of Ireland, to Ferrum Town or Tower in the east coast of Canada, Cape Cod, Mexico City, Baja California, Mexico, or Baja, Mexico, tip of the Grand Canyon, and the Hawaiian Island. And that's geoglyph spot 1. And then we have geoglyph spot, or I guess that was 2. Sorry, this is geoglyph spot 3. That maps out to Cairo, Egypt, the southern tip of Britannia, France, the tip of Ireland, tip of Romania, Romania, USA, I guess. Another spot in Mexico, and all the way up to the Beaufort Sea. And glyph 4, well, you guys get the picture that literally everywhere else around the world, it's these places map out. And this
And
is
you mentioned Nazca lines do the same thing.
Exactly,
for
right?
those,
they're
you know, just
geoglyphs, and it's
to make people aware.
It's an ancient mapping. So you were aware of that?
I was aware of the Nazca lines.
Yeah. So what Ferrum has done then is, I guess I have to close and open the other one, the actual site. So that was just the Medicine Hat one. But he has, over a period of 20 years, this is his main site. I highly recommend everybody check this out, because he started with the Nazca lines, but then as he decided each one's, every single other ancient site around the world he's found the geoglyphs of and actually mapped them out. So for instance, the Yonaguni pyramids off the southern tip of Japan that are under 4 feet of water, well, he found that places like Bosnia Pyramid, as well as in Alberta there, the Badlands Guardians, they all also go to the same Yonaguni site. They all map it out. And then he found the same system geometries within the Yonaguni site.
Now, you do know that the establishment was pushing real hard to say those were natural formations when they first were discovered.
Oh, right. I
know that,
actually
right?
got into arguments with my professors in school, being like, "Are you effing stupid?" They're like, "No, get out of here." I'm like, "Oh my God, like that's a carved turtle on one end. That's a staircase." Like,
yes.
right?
There's temples and steps and channels and canals and you name it. Turtles.
Right? Oh, I know. It's just, it's crazy. And I guess another researcher that from the early 90s, Carl Monk, I think it was.
And I'm familiar with Carl's work. That's how I know the Nazca lines.
I had a feeling, so that's why I brought that up.
Markers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
a code.
I guess Monk might have been the original, or Ferrum, where they discovered it independently, but Ferrum Foundation, he's taken it to a whole nother level. And so the Yonaguni ones is really crazy. This is the 5 geoglyph sites mapped out from the underwater pyramid in Japan, and the territory claimed by the Yonaguni underwater 10,000 minimum year old pyramid territory is identical to the same territory captured by the Japanese Empire during World War II. And if someone can
Can I say something?
Okay, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
100%. I'm
No,
going
be
to let
quiet.
you talk a
Shush.
little bit because I
Just,
figured.
I think that
She's
there was so
bursting.
much about that was related to Tartaria, because Tartaria was Asia,
Yep.
and the Japanese claimed the area in China for Japan, and they called it Manchukuo. It was Manchuria, but before it was Manchuria, it was Chinese Tartary, and you can find that if you look up
All
a
the
map of
maps, yeah.
Chinese Tartary, it was in that part of the world. So I think a lot of that stuff, and the Russo-Japanese War in the early 1900s, I think that was about control of that region. And I just
100%.
think
Definitely.
so much of what we're talking about has been about this original civilization and control of the technology and the resources and so on and so forth, or destroying it. So it's definitely, I just
Conquering
wanted to
it.
make that point that I think that's what those wars were
Yeah.
about.
Oh, big time. And
I think all wars
it's
were.
like
There's
before
heaps of
World War
megaliths in
One.
Japan as well.
Oh, ridiculous ones.
And
The whole
have you
region.
seen? And they've actually got, and they've got one of those sunken temples like they have in India, like where they're literally carved in. They look like they're carved into the ground. They've got those in Japan as well. And of course the Anu, the native Anu people. Sorry, Bernie, you may speak now.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Sorry, Bernie.
Oh, no apologies. No apologies at all. All the map, pretty much, it was any map before World War One still had Tartaria on it. And after World War II, you had the formation of the CIA, and one of their first documents talking about Tartaria, and that's the only official modern era document of any government or any officiality mentioning Tartaria and their claim of why the Soviet Unions are suppressing the I guess
it literally says, let's be clear, we're going to wipe them out, or we're going to wipe them from history.
The Soviets
says that in the
have
letter.
wiped them out. But then it's like, okay, so if the CIA are concerned about the Soviets wiping out Tartaria's history, why did they continue the same practice to everyone over here in the West with it, like wiping out their history too? And
it's just
there's one.
it's so that we think that they're on different sides, Bernie.
Right? Exactly. Different sides of that same coin.
The original humans are threats to the controllers. They're
it is, and
they're advanced.
I sort of mentioned this on
humans.
my last chat with Kelly. And all the orphan trains and this whole, the tunnels and the narrative of the orphans and where did they come from and were they genetically engineered and all this sort of narrative. Then we have the native peoples, right? Is there, do we literally have genetically modified humans and non-GMO and GMO humans, as far as the talk about the 12-strand DNA, which is the way they talk about it, it's an energetic, it's a connection to the energetic DNA. So
it's all, I mean, really, when you get down to it, that's what all of this is all about. It's humans are very special, and the dark ones want control over that. They want their guy in the top spot.
Got on YouTube. Yeah, when I first got on YouTube, it was literally one of the first videos I ever saw. Back in 2007, and the guy just said, the deal is that these guys want to be gods on Earth, and 14 years later, that's it.
Yeah,
that's they want it. That's why they change everything to unnatural, to synthetic, so that they own that creation, right? So they're literally trying to turn this into their creation creation that they can be gods of. And of course, that means that we're under that, and we have to be synthetically made and, copyrighted and everything as well, which is what we're seeing.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's why free thinkers are a threat. Critical thinkers are a threat. But again, we're living in that age of awakening, and they might have brought in the computers and the internet for control, but we've turned it to our advantage, and
exactly,
and it's helping the awakening. So they have to have our consent, which is why they went through all this trouble to rig the system, so we would give our consent without knowing what we were consenting to.
Right?
Essentially, that's their back door to circumvent universal law.
If you don't realize you've given up your free will, like you are a slave, right? Like you're surrendering your free will. You are either a drone or a slave,
and you've given your tacit consent to their evil plans.
And it's that this is the third dimensional realm. No matter what plane, what reality you envision of your perspective of it, there's good, there's bad, and then there's free will. And it's that how you pass is to consciously choose to do good and to do no harm. And we are finally coming together again, and you don't divide and conquer. That's all it's ever been.
And that's all they have.
Exactly.
And they play it masterfully, but that's all they have, literally.
And again, state that they have no physical power on this realm, and that is so true. They can't physically intervene because we are the power on here, but it's that the average person has given up that power to their manipulation without even realizing it, and this new age is all about taking it back.
Yeah, and there's so many different levels.
Definitely,
to that. 100%. Again, it's Cambell alluded to it earlier. I know Bernie's talked about it. Create the world that you want. We talked about it earlier. Put attention and focus on what you want. My favorite time of the day is that I have a cat. I have a companion cat of 17 years, and just spending time with him is a great joy for me. So I savor that, and it gets me in the moment. Yeah. So
whatever it
find
is,
those little things that you enjoy.
Exactly. Take pleasure in them. I actually did make a 3-minute little intro thing. And it might be a good time to play it quickly if we've got 3 minutes.
Hold on.
Share my screen. Oh, hang on.
I gotta show one last part first. One last part.
And then sharing anyway, so it doesn't matter. One last part. And if you haven't seen our chat with League project yet, guys, when I can speak, go check it out. It's hit 25K in, what is it, a week, 2 weeks? Oh, are you there, Bernie?
Yeah.
Have you frozen?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Yeah, there. Cool.
There we go.
Yep, you're all good.
The Grand Canyon and what they claim to be geology is archaeology, and it's just very, very old, super old, but super advanced leftover ruins. This is called the Pyramid of Isis, and in case people don't know, the entire Grand Canyon, every single peak is labeled either a temple or a pyramid, and has the name of one of the goddesses, gods, or seafaring empire cultures of the last 2,000 years. And It's ridiculous. And for all of those that have ever wondered where Solomon's temple is, because the Zionists love to teach about old Solomon's temple, and there's never been a Solomon's temple on any map except for there's a giant pyramid in the Grand Canyon called Solomon's Temple. And when our good friend Rex went there on foot last week, he didn't even go into the canyon, but he was across from the canyon from Solomon's Temple, and an Apache helicopter came up and chased them off. There's a Apache military helicopter, attack helicopter. To this day, it's a no-fly zone, and it's a no hiking zone on arrest. So if I had to put my money on betting where the real Solomon's Temple might be, it probably the one where the story of it's right next to where Kincaid apparently pulled out all of those mummies. And one last picture, just in case you guys doubted that this is real, actual architecture and not geography. Oh, that's not quite it.
That whole area, they found Egyptian artifacts back in the 30s, wasn't it? And then it all got closed down.
Yeah,
not allowed in there. Not allowed in there. And there was a picture of a doorway. I think Rex had it too in one of these pyramid things. There was a big door, open doorway, and now it's been bricked up. It's just no mention of it. It's just suddenly all bricked up.
Yeah.
Oh, but just hold on. Hold your horses. Because old Bernie's got something special.
Well, you're doing something. I'm looking for something to... I know for a fact Arizona is full of pyramids, despite the fact that I live here.
Right? Oh, everywhere.
There's something...
Australia is too.
Everywhere is
up in Cairns, actually, which is pretty close to Arnhem Land. I was living there like 20 years ago, and literally I'd wake up and look out my window and I'd look at a pyramid, and it was called Walsh's Pyramid. But no, it's not a pyramid, it's a mountain. It just looks exactly like a pyramid. They're everywhere.
It
hello,
sucks.
Orion.
It won't zoom in. But we'll have to, for next stream, I'll do it better.
You do hit full screen. If you go down the bottom and hit the full screen, the big square, it'll get a bit bigger.
A little bit better there. So this is a topographical map of the Grand Canyon pyramid complexes. And so if you don't know topographical, that is geological of the tallest points. So each point of these pyramid temple mounds, the exact spot of them, not just aligns to Orion's belt, but aligns to every single star in the entire Orion constellation, as well as the surrounding stars like Betelgeuse and everything else. So if someone would like to explain to me how geology can erode an entire Grand Canyon into a constellation perfectly, and make them with square angles.
Wait, there's more.
There's more. Oh yes, that's right.
There's at least 2 of those in Arizona, because hang on just a sec. I'm pulling it up. Okay. I'm gonna...
I didn't accept your being done, Michelle. Wasn't allowed. We need you to share. We need you to put the icing on top.
Okay. I'm gonna share then, okay? Is it all right? Okay. So anyway, I knew about the Orion. I didn't know about that Orion, but I knew about Gary David's Orion zone. And he has talked about the one that's can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the Four Corners area, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado. But they're over here. So this is the Four Corners area. So this is the Hopi Navajo Reservation up here. Okay. So Flagstaff is here. I live down here below Flagstaff. And this is the first, second, and third mesa on the Hopi Reservation. Okay, so that's also Orion. Okay. And I was on an interview a couple of weeks ago where I was talking about this, and I got an email from someone who was feeling pulled to come out here. And so he just left yesterday, but he was here for he was in Arizona for a week. I met him last week. And then he headed on up here because he was feeling the pull to the second mesa, which is the same as this star right here on Alam. And anyway, I just wanted to show you a picture he sent me of Homo lovi, which is here. So if you're traveling along Interstate 40 going across this way, you're going to pass by where Meteor Crater is and Walnut Canyon and through Flagstaff. But he sent me this picture of Homo lovi, and I want to show you what it looks like. And I'm pretty sure it's not natural.
Drum roll. Oh.
This is a Homo lovi.
Wow.
On the Hopi Reservation.
Right?
You can see the corner.
Right? Like, oh, man. Just ridiculous.
Wow.
And I know where I am and south of here. I mean, there's just like pyramids galore. Same idea. But again, we're not taught about it. We see it as all, most people see it as all natural until you stop seeing things that way. And then when you shift your perception, it becomes much clearer.
It's everywhere.
We've been lied to.
Yeah, we're living in Dungeons and Dragons, man. It's just,
so I just wanted to share that, Bernie. There's 2 Orion constellations in Arizona.
Right, just unreal, and
that we know of. That we know of.
That we know of.
Probably a few more, and it's that those don't do it justice to understand the amount of terraforming involved for what those little alignments, straight lines on pieces of paper that are star constellations actually entails, because that definitely goes back to what you were talking about, Michelle, of in the past, of it being the Earth itself and the people or culture or society technology being a functioning living machine sort of thing.
Harmonious and balanced. We've talked about cathedrals.
Harmonious with
people going to cathedrals to harmonize with each other and heal. Not to be preached to.
Right, or indoctrinated, or traumatized.
And the program that I was thinking about for tonight is, and that's what I'd like to do next time, is that I'd like to talk about bell towers and water towers. The next time you have me on, because I just think there's, besides, looking at things like water towers as having been airship ports, I think that was one use, but bell towers are really tall, really high, and I just feel like Earth was.
Echo with me. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna mute.
Earth was like a
so a bell tower is different to like a belfry, is it?
I think a bell tower. I mean, what I'm thinking is that the frequencies generated on Earth went out to the cosmos. Is my thought.
Yeah.
About why those bell towers were just so high, and I think when they got Earth, I think it affected a whole lot of other things too.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's the other thing about all this is you know, what we always say, we're in the third dimension, right? There's more than, there's all these dimensions, you know, stacked on top of us with all this stuff going on, and it all filters through, and everything we do here filters up. It's all, you know, it's all part of one big system. Let me just play this short video, 3-minute video, see how I did. I put it together in like 10 minutes, so hopefully it's good. That one. All right, can you see that? Oh, better get sound on.
Is there an echo, audience? Please let us know. Am I echoing again?
Oh. This is the bit, isn't it? That confuses me. It's like, if we choose to come here to get this sorted out, or is this it just seems a little unfair, doesn't it? That, you know, we seem to be here, and there's this parasite messing up our experience.
You know, I know in my own life, the times that I've made major changes, it was like it became more painful not to change than to change. That was when I made big changes.
You know, it's this whole ridiculous narrative of, it's, you know, it's an unsafe world. There's not enough for you. It's scary. Everyone's out to get you, and clearly the old civilization was completely the opposite to that. It was all about empowerment, like literally.
Cosmic resonance, I think they called that one. Or
cosmic resonance, that's a big name.
Real science, you can actually produce free electricity, and this is part of what Tesla was doing, is the differential between the top of the spire to the ground actually creates an electrical differential that you then connect to another wire that goes into the ground, your grounding. Put that into the third phase in your circuit, and then you have a bell ringing circuit, and that actually produces plasma electricity out of the air. Like it's real technology. These things actually function producing electricity. It's crazy.
The movies are the truth, and the news is the lies. They've completely flipped it.
You know, when you look at everything with new eyes, and you come across information like she was born into a very wealthy family with elite connections, you know, it means something very different now to me than it would have even a few years ago. Just getting their independence, and they end up in civil wars for 20, 30 years. Happens a lot. And it's our free will that they've really also met us with, because we've been lied to and we react based on lies.
Because we keep choosing to pick up the gun and use it on ourselves instead of building and uniting and accepting that we are one people, one spirit, one harmony on one plane that together, united, can achieve anything we dream of.
So do you want to, you know, wake up, or do you want to just keep going along because to change is too difficult?
And then give them pieces of information that they will then pursue themselves and look into, and then they'll wake themselves up.
I was going to mention, it's the whole red pill, blue pill of the Matrix. I mean, that of the movie. And you can consider that movie as a documentary, because they're telling us something about what's happening here. So do you want to, you know, wake up, or do you want to just keep going along because to change is too difficult? Wake up.
All right, there we go. How do I do this?
That was pretty awesome.
Good job.
Michelle
Is that
can't
good?
time too, right? Like, how are they going to stop us? They can't. I'm guessing you're going to have to go quick here, Michelle, but I would just like to play. I'll let you say your goodbyes and everything first, but on the way out, I'm going to play the Plasma Channel's most recent video where he harvests atmospheric electricity with a drone. And it's quite fascinating for those who haven't seen it. But I'm going to mute myself out and let you talk.
Yeah, well, it's really been great tonight. And universe works in mysterious ways, always. Stuff you can't plan. And so I look forward to being on again, and just keep up the good work.
Yep.
It all comes back together.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us. I think everyone always appreciates your research. You're definitely up there, known as one of the best researchers in the field. So we definitely appreciate your time, and love to have you back next week, and we'll talk about some towers and some ethereal energy and putting intention out to the universe and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. A week gives me time to put a PowerPoint together.
Awesome. We love you, Michelle.
Cool.
Thank you
Sounds
so
good.
much.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
You all have a
Same
good
time
evening.
next week. Thank you, Michelle.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks.
You
Let me
too. Have a
figure out
great
how to
week.
get out of here.
Till we meet again.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
All right. And oops.
Let's have a look at this. And thanks to everyone for joining us. Let's go look at some drone harvesting electricity.
Things are going great.
Oh, and some random scream noises from
for
BurnEye.
fun. I've been using mine for the past 2 months to capture free energy.
Free energy, Jay? There is no free energy.
Okay,
still
so
hear it when I mute
maybe
myself?
free is a relative term. You see, directly above our heads is a power source that literally nobody would expect. The atmosphere itself. Specifically, there's a voltage gradient that exists between the Earth and the sky at all times. It can be hijacked for power, and this was my journey to do so. Hey, I'm Jay, and welcome back to Plasma Channel. If this is your type of science, consider subscribing and turning on those notifications. To extract energy from the atmosphere, Indiana here volunteered as tribute. I'm using the DJI Mini 2, which I freaking love. It's super light, has a 4K camera, and is foldable. It's basically like a flying burrito controlled by my phone. Anyways, I was pleased to learn how resistive it is to my abuse, and the thing actually has a carrying capacity of half of a pound, which is insane considering it weighs half a pound. So I built this little wire harness made of fishing line and, hey, acrylic that'll hang about 1 meter below the drone and carry this electrode up into the sky. This allows me to use the drone's camera to spy on the top of the electrode just to see if anything crazy happens at height. The harness, electrode, and wire only weigh 70 grams, so lift isn't an issue. I'll be using a few tools to visualize any energy we harvest. The first tool is a classic foil electroscope. When it's charged to a few kilovolts DC, the foil leaves actually repel each other. I found above about 8 kilovolts, and they actually stick to the glass. Second, a Franklin bell, which uses static repulsion to create linear motion. When one can is charged and the other can grounded, the ball bounces back and forth. Lastly is a corona motor of my design. This uses static repulsion and attraction to create rotational energy. Charge one side, ground the other, it spins. Let me know if you'd like a build video for this. To aid with video, I enlisted the help of my friend Jordan. He uses this flying DSLR to study whale dynamics and populations. It's really cool. Check out his work on Instagram because the work's incredible, as you can see. I'll place his link down below. So Jordan's drone, a little bit bigger than mine, and it's going to be the main force behind all the cinematic shots that you're going to see. I have no idea if this is actually going to work, but tomorrow I'm going to find out.
These $60 Japanese smart patches are taking the world by storm. Just apply them before bed and wake up feeling refreshed and clear as you peel off decades of built-up chemicals and toxins.
Let's go for it. Please don't kill me. What could possibly go wrong? It's doing it. I see this going bad real fast. While the drone sat at 100 meters, I established an electrical ground and connected the sky wire to an isolated base. The base then connected to the electroscope, but nothing really happened until I shocked myself. Oh, ow. Yeah. You want to feel it?
Not really, but okay.
As cool as that was, I couldn't get any sparks on camera, and the electroscope didn't budge. So while Indiana sat up there, we discussed what we should have been seeing, and even though, yeah, it was the first time for me, I figured something wasn't right. That didn't really work like I would have hoped. You could hear the static on the wire and the top of the electroscope. So, I mean, that kind of tells us there's potential here. But Jordan and I, we were talking, it's pretty humid today. So, pretty strong chance the humidity is leaching away some of that charge. So I think I need more charge, and therefore that means a bigger electrode. So this was the original electrode, didn't work well. Today I'm trying this guy. Twice as many ionization points and double the surface area to collect energy out of the sky. I'm pretty excited about it, so let's give it a try. That is looking a lot better. It's way more balanced. That electrode is huge. I'm really feeling good about this one.
Oh, see? See, there's the static charge. Oof. Oof. Charging, look at that. Thousands of volts. And then discharging it. Oof.
Electroscopes rely on repulsion of like charges. Both pieces of foil are electrically connected to the sky, so they share a positive charge and basically give each other the cold shoulder. And I got really lucky this day. There was zero wind, which would not happen next time. But at this point, the drone was out of battery, so I had to call it for the day. It actually worked, right? And in my experience, that was maybe 4,000 volts. But keep in mind, the voltage differential increases the higher up you go. We were only at 100 meters. That kind of makes you think. So ultimately, the spacing and the number of ionization points is what matters. But it still didn't produce much current, though. Luckily, the chronomotor doesn't take much current to spin. It's actually one reason why these are called atmospheric motors. Knowing the setup draws power, we terrorized one final park. This time I planned to test the Franklin Bell and the chronomotor. There's a bit of a wind today. Jordan and I had to find a second park to go to. The wind's gonna blow this around like crazy. So it's gonna be kind of a test of what this little tiny drone can actually put up with while dragging a wire 100 meters, 150 meters up into the sky. So let's do it though. Ow! Woo! Don't kill me! Oh. Peace. Wind is super strong right now. So if you look in the center of the screen right now, you'll notice the basket's being blown almost entirely out of the field of view. That's because the wind is just gusting up there. So 100 meters. All right, I'm gonna stop at 115 and hold steady. All right, it didn't blow up yet. Oh, by the way, meet the aerial film crew. I just thought this was a cool shot. Oh yeah, I'm getting shocked right now. This time I just used the electroscope as a quick voltage check. Woo! Now that's a few thousand volts right there. All right, let's see if there's enough current to make this Franklin Bell work. Oh, dude! Freaking working, buddy! Yeah. It's a really cool process. The aerial wire places a positive charge on this can, which then influences the foil ball to deliver electrons from the grounded can, which is directly connected to Earth. The clouds finally opened up, so I connected up the corona motor. Like before, one side was connected to ground, while the other was attached to the aerial wire. And after just a few seconds, hey, she's spinning! This is just remarkable. It never really spun that fast, but I just sat and enjoyed the miracle. I mean, I quite literally was siphoning energy straight from the atmosphere. This motor was operating off of several kilovolts, which you could actually hear if you stopped the motor and brought your finger near the aerial wire. That's the sound of coronal discharge. Not long after, the wind started picking up, so we packed up. It's honestly the craziest thing. And, you know, if you're anything like me, you're going to wonder, where the hell does all this energy come from? There's no such thing as free energy, right? I'll give you a hint. It has to do with that voltage gradient I mentioned earlier. Well, I think Mehdi says it best.
The voltage gradient between Earth and the sky is fairly linear, starting with 0 at Earth and increasing by around 100 volts per meter. And it can be shown by these equipotential lines representing the voltage gradient. All the conductive objects connected to ground, though, like people, trees, or buildings, or even this wire the J guy wants to send to the sky, are at 0 volts, which means these equipotential lines will have to curve around them. But these equipotential lines become increasingly more compressed around the grounded object the higher it is. In other words, the intensity of electric fields it experiences increases with height. Now, if sharp electrodes are present beside intense enough electric fields, the air molecules are ionized that suck electrons from ground through the wire into the electrodes into the positive ions of air. So just like that, we can create electric current.
So, since the electrode was at about 115 meters, we should have produced close to 11,000 volts of electricity. Now, in reality, it was about half that because the setup I made is super lossy, but I really don't care. The physics is super cool, and we got repulsion, linear motion, and rotational motion out of energy pulled from the sky. What more do you want? In the end, this is a really exotic power source that we've actually known about for more than a century. German inventors created this sketch of their power generation facility, published in Science and Invention in 1922. You'll notice balloons are used as the method to keep the wires up at height. Maybe we should revisit this ancient concept. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below and leave a suggestion for something you'd like to see me try powering using.
Right, I
Wow.
love how he says
Holy golly, man.
1922 as ancient, and it's like, oh man, you just verified everything that we've
100
been
years,
talking
no
about
idea.
and researching, but 22 is not ancient when we're talking about this tech. And I forget
Nah.
the name of that one guy. I can't stand him. Not the plasma channel, but it's free electricity impossible. No.
Yeah. Middle East guy,
How
yeah.
he draws on his little whiteboard the different fields. It's like that's the exact same diagrams in these 1400, 1600 science books in French and German. Only those ones are much more in detail than his non-free energy claim. And yeah,
It was
just
interesting when he drew that as well, and he drew it you know, the different gradients when you have something on the ground like a building, right? And it, you know, you can imagine if you have a dome on the top of a building, then that helps with the put that energy into a
Cambell,
point.
have you not seen some
up to
of
a
these
point where then you have your antenna.
the fire? Yeah, exactly. But have you not seen some of those the German ones? Like they literally have the spires going up and then the compressed waves at the very top of the antenna showing the voltage that it's actually getting by going up that high. Like it's crazy. We're gonna have to Martin. We still have to do our Martin collab
I'm not
because
sure.
that's where I first saw it. And it's nuts.
Yeah,
It's
I must have missed that one. Yeah, right. It's just it's insane. I mean, it's just talk about the, you know, the Great Awakening. All this stuff is just coming out so quick, and I don't know, this topic I just find so interesting that we're literally, you know, we're 2 years ahead of the narrative. You know, we're saying all this stuff and then it all comes out, you know. It's like we're talking about resets and then there's a reset. We're talking about, getting free energy from the ether, and suddenly people are doing it. It's like, come on.
So I guess this is your first time being a trendsetter. But as a clothing manufacturer, I've been creating trends my whole life. Just kidding. Just kidding. It's called being ahead of the curve, all right? Stay ahead of the curve.
Ahead of the curve. Definitely. All right. And we've got another chat coming up in the next, I'm not sure when it's coming up, but we're having a chat to Mr. John Levi, I hear.
Yes, he I shameless, what is the word? The phrase.
Shamelessly.
Yeah, shameless self-promotion, spammed his poster boards of asking for an interview with him, yourself, and possibly Michelle. And he gave John this week gave those comments a heart and a commitment, saying that he would. So now I'm just gonna have to track down his contact information, or if anybody has John Levi's contact.
I can get that. Yeah.
That
I should be able to get that if no one else sends it to you. But yeah, so there you go. We got him finally.
right.
It's a hard man to get onto a chat, but
well, I think he's felt rather isolated and attacked by a lot of like the broader YouTube community and stuff like that for a while, where finally, well, he's just become such a pillar with such a following, and developed his research and his understanding and thesis of the past to the point that it's solidified and there's no holes in it. And now that he's probably more comfortable coming out and being able to talk about it, debate it, and have others add to it, I guess, essentially, right? And it's going to be an amazing time because, well, we all have our piece of the puzzle to add.
We do. When we're not sure, probably sometime in the next couple of weeks, we'll get John in. In the next week or two, we'll get that all sorted out. And we've also got to do another chat with Mike. I keep missing them.
Yeah.
So we'll work out a date and get that sorted out as well, so we can because I'd love to get onto the stuff that he's actually built. He's built these motors at work. He's running his car on water. All this stuff is out there, guys. So we definitely want to bring it forward, but in a way that show you guys how to make it, right? Because what we know, one thing is, with all this information and technology, is the way to go is to just share it and show people how to build it. It's not to get a copyright and try and start a business, because as soon as that happens, it will all disappear. So It's all about just sharing.
Open source.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that that's what makes crypto technology so successful, is the blockchain is all open source. Everything has to be open source. And well, as we're open and honest and debating and creating these platforms of open discussion and putting out information for it to be discussed and looked at and critiqued, but it's that it needs to be done. And when you make things open source, it's there, tear it apart, put it back together again. If you can make it work better than the original, power to you. Everybody else is going to try to now use your model, right? And that's what progress is. And exactly, when you hide in dark places by yourself, well, there's got to be a reason to why you are hiding. And sorry, Chris, I need you to email me, because you have come up with probably 15 at least next level experiments that will take my own personal thesis and research in my alchemy work, my plasma, cold fusion, and battery creation circuitry to the next level. And I'm just always it's in the middle of the stream and there's a million things going on, so I just naturally forget it and lose it in the live chat. So
Chris
at the very
Shipjack,
end,
is it?
yeah. So Chris,
Chris
please,
Shipjack. Ship.
I will freaking if you go into my YouTube about page or the information page, my email is there. I'm not gonna publish it right now just because I'm broadcasting to several different channels, including my Facebooks and Cambell's YouTube and everything else. So but I need you to email me with all of your different ideas so I can make a live stream dedicated weekend specifically to trying your if not all, the majority of your ideas, because you are definitely a fellow genius. There's no doubt about it, and you've thought of a lot of angles that I have not, and I need to do it.
Yeah, well, it might be time that we created a new, weekly Saturday morning show or something,
So sorry, Cambell, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay, with the nice guy. Okay, come on, I'll fight you, man. Yeah, no, like it'd be good to get, like these science, these science shows they used to have, right? And of course, now we've got, the science guy without the bow tie. So, wouldn't it be good to have like an hour, 2 hour show and actually start building things, show people where to buy the stuff, how to build them, talk about real science, and that'd be fun.
Exactly.
We could do live explosions and stuff.
Right? Oh yeah, I'm going to do a couple of I'm going to go into a field with a very long extension cord, but try these microwaves with a lot of my monoatomics, because that supposedly creates real blue purple plasma cold fusion reactions and will actually transmutate the monoatomic elements back into a new solid mass of a combined of like the copper and zinc into like whatever those two atoms are added into each other into a full out fused atom that would be undeniable evidence of cold fusion when put into a I gotta write this word down. I always struggle with it. The spectrometer, spectrophacy.
Spectrometer.
Spectrometer, yes.
Spectrometer.
Spectrophacy, I think.
Has it got an N in there?
Spectrometer?
All
right,
spectrometer. Yeah. Anyone knows? Tell us how to spell spectrometer.
Mr. Nice.
What was I going to say? The red and the blue. The red and the blue. Oh gosh, what were you just talking about?
Plasma.
Oh yeah, the monoatomics. The monoatomics. So with that, what elements turn red and blue? Is that like iron? Is that like where this red and blue comes from? This whole red and blue, north, south.
So they literally are on the opposite side of the spectrum. Your infrared is your red, like the heat energy is red. That's your hot electricity. That's your full amperage, and that's where all of our electrical circuits frequencies are on, and thus why they waste so much electricity and produce all of this heat, because there's that resistance in it, and you're running the hot plasma, the hot electricity, red, yellow, orange flames, and then your cold electricity, your the blue, the purple, the other end of the light wave, the UV light wave, and that is cold electricity and cold fusion, and it's a much smaller wave, but it's also that it's carrying a much smaller amount of energy that has to travel within that circuit, thus a lot less waste and a lot less needing to even be generated. And this is something I've just figured out after a couple of talks with Mike and looking up examples of Tesla's cold electricity, is that it's actually cold and it doesn't have a high amperage in it, and that if you put the actual electrical circuit down into the hertz range of the shorter cold electricity, that everything can essentially run on free energy, because you don't have to produce the high amperage, the high hot that also is giving away all of that energy through heat loss,
The
through
radiation.
resistance, and everything else. And yeah, and so your red color is actually a very long wavelength in the long area of the electromagnetic or the visible light spectrum, and carries the heat in it, where the blue, the purple, the UV, it's going into the very tiny, the micro, and it carries the information in it, not the energy, the heat energy in it. And that is something that is not really understood whatsoever in the scientific community these days, but we are changing that. And yes, we are going to be doing these science streams. And there's actually, I've freaking slept through Saturday and was supposed to be partaking all day with APEC, because APEC is just, it's growing to a whole nother level with the alien scientist. And then he's got a team with Jeremiah and Mark, who do Falcon space research. And now I've brought Mike over there as well with Faraday research. And APEC itself is Tim, sorry, Tim, forgot your last name, but he's the one that does APEC, and he's like a 50-year physicist and electrical engineer, and they're literally bringing, and I must stress, like, a lot of people, they don't know what's going on, or they don't know that they are working for a corrupt system and they're just stuck in the matrix, but they are good people and they're trying to figure out the same solutions as the rest of us. And there's a bunch of actual NASA engineers and Boeing engineers and stuff like that that I've actually been presenting in front of and working with. And now we're bringing Mike together with them, Jeremiah, and Mark. And it's going to be some next level progress here in the very short future. And Mr. Nice Guy, Nice is a very special rock and property, but Nassim Haramein, I've actually met him in person a few times. I've got pictures with him. I've done both of his 2-year delegate programs, and I've also done some live stream presentations on the Resonance Academy monthly meetup streams. And yes, he is a key to my the geometric unified theory that I'm putting together. I would not be able to grasp even the slightest of what I do grasp if it wasn't for the teachings of Nassim and his Schwarzschild proton theory and his holographic universe.
And he's a great guy to check out if you want just a sort of grounding in what all this kind of, free energy, fractals, geometry, how it all sort of works. He's got 2 really good he's got one, what is it? It's from about 12 years ago, live at some mountain or something, I think. And that's like a 12-hour presentation. And then there's another one, which is about 3 hours. But if you check him out, go for the 3-hour one maybe. But I remember I found his 12-hour one, and it's cut into 1-hour sections. And I just watched the whole thing in one day, just go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
The first time I discovered him, right? It's like, I just couldn't stop watching. Like, there was that one, I found a couple ones that were like the hour logs, and then there's that one, right? The 12-hour, that it's like, from that one, then there's also the Pandora's Box one from, I think, 2012, when he was in Spain at one of the universities there, did it was another 6-hour presentation. So it was literally had just done 24 hours, glued to the TV watching to see him, whoa. Yeah, no, pace yourself with it for sure.
Yeah. But he explains it well too. He explains it in a way that's pretty easy to understand. Yeah. And another one, if you want to check out a bit of maths and understand that maths isn't boring. It can be awesome. Check out Marco Rodin. He's the same. His main. He's got a lot of short ones, but his main presentation, I think, is 10 hours. I did the same thing with that. Found that. Just watched the whole thing, but.
And Marco Rodin is the discoverer of vortex-based mathematics. Your torus, your three-phase. The Rodin coil was named after him and came from his mathematical model. And he's a higher dimensional mind being these days, where if you watch some of his most recent stuff, it's like he goes into like the word of God and everything else and whatnot, where it's like he's connected, he's portaled in where he's halfway here, halfway in the other realm, but it's the higher dimensional realm, and he's definitely figured out one of these full systems for sure.
Yeah, well, as far as I know, he's not a scientist or anything. He's just approached it from a religious. He's Baha'i. Is that Baha'i faith? And he was researching the name of God in Baha'i faith, and that's how he came up with his mathematic formula that went into vortex maths. And he was also the first one to bring back into consciousness, like you said, the three phase, like this third wiring, which is the ether. Before that we had positive, negative, or earth, sky, whatever, and he's brought in the ether, which of course is what Mike talks about with the spark gap. Same concept.
Exactly.
So it's all this, this is the thing, all this stuff relates. It's all, everyone's saying the same thing, just in a slightly different way.
Exactly.
Maybe not everyone, but the smart people.
Really good one is Joseph P. Farrell as well. He's really good with understanding and oh, sorry, Finder. Did you send me that? I do need to look into the Book of Aquarius. Or have you looked into Book of Aquarius, Campbell? Apparently, that is one we need to.
What's that? Is that to do with the age of Aquarius? Is it, or?
I'm not sure. It's been recommended to me a couple of times recently.
The book, I'll check it out.
Another good one is the PoE vortex coil, which is more advanced Rodin coils by One Stop Energy, and the Daniel Nunes YouTube channel and the Nunes couples. They're great. And they also essentially created a three-phase torus generator, but that it's also connecting just the third one out of the ether. And then Vinnie Vincent Roy and all of his research down in the States, where he's created a Edleed-Scalin flywheel and then connected it together with a bunch of Tesla coils, pancake coils, and he's actually levitating stuff and creating ridiculously powerful charge gaps. And pretty much any good physicist or an electrical engineer these days,
he's cool because
out of the ether. It's all ether.
And when you look at his what was his name? Sorry, that last one.
So the YouTube channel is Vinnie St. Vincent, and his actual name is Roy.
Yeah.
And working off of Edleed-Scalin's.
But you check out his videos, and he just looks like literally, it looks like he's in the basement of a car. Like all his equipment looks like you could just go and find it in a field and cobble it together. It doesn't look high tech at all, does it? It's just all these bits and stone wheels and bits hanging here and there, and he's just doing this. So as far as looking back in the past, he's a really good example that it doesn't need to be. It doesn't. Tech doesn't need to look like we think it looks like. You don't need to have a room with a panel of flashing lights for it to be a free energy, lab. It's all simple stuff. And that's one of the biggest things is they want us to believe it's so complicated, and you can't even look at it unless you've got, your 4 years and your 1 degree from the university. It's just too hard, right? But it's simple stuff, guys.
Because when I first started, really, like, I've always been into like the Tesla, the over unity, and like the anti-gravity and the crazy physics and mathematics, but I never actually was doing any of the electrical engineering part of it. And I'd always be so intimidated being like, oh man, I'm not like Eric Dollard. How the hell am I ever gonna like recreate this or make this or understand this? And right. And it's like, no, you start out simple and you build up from there. And or you just conceptualize in your mind how something might work. You reverse engineer it in your mind, just in what the parts are. Like, like, okay, so there's the spinning aspect of it, there's the wired circuit aspect of it. Like, it's taking energy from this part, or it's putting out energy in this part, or its geometry is this way, or it's made out of this sort of material. And just from grabbing the basic concepts from stuff and then just watching different videos, dissimilar ones, or people listening to people as they build it, as they're learning themselves, you'll exponentially accelerate your own understanding and your own abilities, to the point that one day you will be building crazy things like this. Oh, it's on this camera. That's why.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yep. That's not doing any
Got one of
justice.
those sound clips somewhere.
Or like one of these. We got a plasma capacitor.
Oh, a wand.
Right. It's also a wand, but it's a wand, yet it's actually a solenoid, triple solenoid, nano-coated plasma capacitor that you put into a circuit. It will generate a giant electromagnetic field. As with these resonating coils and all sorts of other wonderful. There's a standard Keshi coil. And one of these days, very soon, probably the next 2 weeks, I will be hooking it all up and actually trying to get it to work, because it does work, and
Nice.
it's just a matter of doing it.
Well, make sure you have the cameras rolling, or we'll live stream it. We'll do something for sure.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
I will.
All right. Well, we've been
definitely
going
do
for 2 hours and 22 minutes.
Yeah. All
Can you
right.
explain
Okay.
plasma? Like, is the shit now blood really plasma? Oh, okay.
So plasma
Different
is
type
the
of plasma.
fourth state of matter, and it goes gas, liquid, solid, plasma,
Liquid
and
plasma.
that's how you can have plasma in your blood where it's living, and where you can have ball lightning that is plasma, and you can have fire that is plasma, or you can have these monoatomic superconducting metal plasma elements, or you can have your ionized gas plasma, that it's all over unity, and it's all self-arranging and conscious and higher dimensional states of matter. And so since it is the fourth state of matter, it's also, you can conceptualize it in your mind. The modern academia refers to it as quantum. So it's just, so what is quantum mechanics? That's essentially time travel, or accessing information through time. That is how your plasma is conscious, because it is a conscious through time state of matter. And yeah, that's
so does plasma exist in the cell? It would have to, or are there plasma cells? How does that work?
Yeah,
do you know?
I believe it's plasma cells,
I don't know a lot about. That's what I would think. I'm just wondering why they call it plasma, when clearly, if it's a cell,
because it is a type of plasma. It's self-arranging. It's got
in a fifth.
It's that they're
It's just the
electrically
medium.
charged,
It's like
right?
when they talk about, when they talk about cells, the what is it? 98% of the function of cells is the reception and giving off of light.
right?
So I mean, that's basically
Light's a
plasma,
type
right?
of plasma too,
That
because ionized gas gives
mm,
off light. Yeah, so plasma essentially is the material that
it's
connects between the third dimensional solid state and the fifth dimensional ether, like folding into
up
the
to the fifth.
higher realm
Yeah.
states.
So you could think of it like that. That's what gets enacted when people, spontaneously heal. Is the plasma is connecting to universal source or force, whatever, and letting it in, and
Where
that's where the
your
healing
own
comes from.
thought waves being on that higher vibrational thought, you're able to then interact with this plasma that is conscious, that you're then able to give it commands and it listens to you because you are manifesting it and operating on that higher dimensional realm.
Yeah. And of course, when you go and see the man in the white coat and he says, "Oh my gosh, you've got cancer," plasma will work that way as well if you believe it. It will create whatever
Exactly.
you
And
want.
Dan Winter loves giving examples of the First Nations people and their different understandings of plasma being the tornadoes and clouds and the spirits, that the spirits are plasma, and that you can, if you're a evolved being or a higher dimensional thinking being, you can control tornadoes, control fire, the flame in the mind, the plasma through your thoughts. Your
Exactly.
consciousness
Yeah.
affects the plasma.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Yeah. That's a good point. Because that's obviously what all these shamans and doctors and healers, that's what they were all communicating with and working through, was the fifth state, right? That's what it's all
Right,
about.
exactly.
It's where we are, right? We're about to hopefully go up to
Oh,
that fifth dimension.
well, while we're still on this third and fourth route, we got to use the fourth dimension to connect our three-dimensional bodies and existence into our five-dimensional. Why do they say they're the 5D light? Because that's your fifth, that's your ether, that's your spirit that is eternal, living in that 5D. It lives forever in the ether, and that is the light, and that it is coming down into the 3D. And I guess we will call
Yes,
it for that. Oh, okay, ether. So one last thing. Ether, aka Ethereum. Some people claim it is the greatest crypto ever. I freaking hate it because it's broken because of the outrageous gas fees that it literally costs you double anything you do in Ethereum gas to do any utility with Ether, thus it's crashing. But there's something that is more hidden and suppressed and completely shadow banned, and that is called Hex, Hex 2, and Pulse Chain, and that is a fork of Ether, but without any of the controllers and without any of the gas fees. And if you have any ERC20 tokens, so that's like 3/4 of cryptos out there are built on Ethereum, thus they're ERC20, you keep them in your MetaMask wallet. Coming up in the next couple of weeks, month top, the owner of Pulse and Hex, he's doing what is called a snapshot, that he captures an image of everything Ethereum in your wallet, and that you will, in the coming months, 2 to 3 months tops, when Pulse comes out, he is giving everybody a second free copy of whatever they have. So like nothing to do with him, literally $1 trillion worth of ERC20 tokens on the Ethereum network. He's giving you a second free copy that will also be on his Pulse chain now, that will then you can sell or bridge over or do whatever, but don't waste your Ethereum by sending it or selling it and half of it getting used in gas fees. Save it for a month until that snapshot happens, and you're going to get it doubled for free out of this guy that literally is exponentially more suppressed than we are. Only guy that talks crypto I've ever seen on YouTube that has his streams cut off live while he's talking. And yeah, it's worth holding it in your MetaMask in the meantime, or linking your MetaMask to your Exodus or anything else because it's literally the biggest airdrop in human history when it comes to a free wealth generating event. And like Quant, for instance, is an ERC20 crypto that's $330 for one of them, and it has nothing to do with him, but or Shiba Inu, that's another Ethereum one. All of those, you just by holding it in your wallet until this picture is taken, you then get a second free copy for it. That well, you know, why not double everything you have and then have it on another network that it won't cost you any money to use
without the gas fees. That's the thing.
Expensive one, and you'll have the new one with no gas fees. Which it's like theoretically when they're created the copy, it should be worth nothing. Which I think in some countries that equates that you don't have to pay taxes.
You can see why
but then it will go up exponentially.
You can see what they think is going to happen.
Into Pulse and whatnot, and yes, so, and he is 100%.
So if you've got Ethereum,
and for every Ethereum you have, you
because
will also
what they're predicting is. Sorry, I was going to say they're predicting Ethereum to go to zero. Basically, that's what they're telling you.
It won't go to zero.
They're saying Ethereum's going to go maybe not very, very low. Yeah. And so the Ethereum that you get that doesn't have the gas fees, that will hold its value, and that will be the new Ethereum.
Yeah, the Pulse, exactly. So it's a hard fork of Ethereum, only it's a better version. So Ethereum, right? They're like, oh, we're gonna do this 2.0 thing in December, but it's like they have to take down the entire network to do that and then reboot everything, which is impossible. It will never ever happen. It's the biggest sham ever, claiming that ETH 2.0 is coming out, where in fact this Pulse chain is literally a better evolved fork of Ethereum, thus Ethereum 2.0, and is the real Ethereum 2.0, but they're censoring, taking down every video of it, not letting anybody know about it, and literally all you have to do is hold all of your Ethereum-based stuff in your MetaMask wallet, and you will get a free copy of all of it on Ethereum 2.0, plus still have it all on the old Ethereum. And any crypto person that's telling you that Ethereum's going to still double or triple this year, go to 10,000, stop listening to them immediately, because they clearly don't know what's going on. And it's like,
and anyone telling you the opposite as well,
right?
Anyone telling you to sell, because that's what they want, right? That's why they're cutting this guy off. They want people to sell, so the price goes down, they buy it all up cheaply, and then they get their free Ethereum. That's the scam, guys.
Yeah, so I'm getting questions like, what if someone just hacks MetaMask? Well, then they're going to be caught because it's open source and it documents everything that they do, where they transfer it and where they come from. And that's why you've seen most of the all of the major hacks lately where they've given back the crypto immediately. That's because they're about to go to jail and they have to give it back before the FBI, CIA, anybody comes knocking on their door. Because it's called blockchain. It's all stored on the block. It's open source. All the information is right there.
They know where it all comes from and where it all goes. Yep.
Oh,
so if you steal it and then you go and spend it, and those people spend it, and those people spend it, it can still be found 5 years down the road. They can go, this is the money that was stolen back then. This is that crypto. Like, so it's impossible. That's why it's better than fiat currency.
It won't take 5 years because they just did the snapshot of what was in your wallet, so they then know the identical one that you now have, both of the Ethereum and the Pulse. And it's that he's not like, this guy doesn't have the resources or the care to try to track what you have or anything. It's that you'd request them to give you a copy of what was taken in the picture of yours, and you then take that to the authorities of wherever you live to see if they can do something, which is going to happen because regulation is going to happen probably around December. It's coming. Not financial advice. If you are going to invest in crypto, I would recommend ones that are ISSO compliant. That means they are compliant with the regulations that aren't enforced yet, but are coming. And those are the ones that will be worth more after the regulations, where the ones that aren't that are going to go to 0. And that is the next crash that you're hearing about. Just be ahead of the wave. Or ahead of the curve.
Yes,
Ahead of the
indeed.
curve.
Head of the curve, not financial information.
No,
So there you
just
go,
game
Burn.
entertainment.
2 hours and 35 minutes. How do
Alright,
we do
Campbell, I'm
this?
sorry.
Gosh, 2 hours.
I'm sorry, Campbell. I'll let you talk. Shut the fuck up and let you talk, and then
No,
we can
you're
all
right.
go over
No.
whatever
Just
you want to
saying.
do.
2.5 hours. I might have to get going. I've
Most
got to run off,
definitely.
and oh gosh, it's almost 2 o'clock. What's the time where you are? Is it the middle of the night?
It is 15 to midnight. 15 to midnight
Okay,
right
yeah,
now.
cool.
11:45 p.m.
Cool. Alrighty.
I
All right.
love
Well,
each and all of
yeah,
you
we might
people and
say
beautiful souls.
goodbye, guys. Yes. Thank you, everyone. One Consciousness, Non-Fiction, Yoga, Geneva, Mr. Nice Guy, Amanda, Erin, Mark, the Big Kush, Danny, Vanderswoom. Vanderswoom, is that right? Everyone, Sid, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for all the comments. If you've got any questions, leave them down below. If you've got any information too, guys, anything interesting, let us know. Send us an email and we'll get you on the show, whether it be history or sort of sciencey related. Yes, chuck us an email. One at a time, not all together, because it's too hard to get through.
Right. So there's a couple questions I saw there. I don't necessarily know if MetaMask is completely safe, but you can link, like I keep all of my tokens in Exodus, but then you can link just your ERC20 or Ethereum tokens. You can restore that through MetaMask so that just your Ethereum will appear in both MetaMask and Exodus, so that you're then qualified for that screen image. But if it gets hacked, it would only be that. And how are they going to hack Ethereum and then pay for the gas to move it? It's impossible at this point. The system's so broken. But, yeah, it's that. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend keeping like the majority or all of your crypto in any one wallet on any one platform. I'd recommend taking, if you can, a portion of it into like a Trezor or I think it's a Nano or whatnot, but the cold storage where you're taking some of it offline, and then it's impossible to get off or be stolen. And yeah, so it's like you don't even have to move your Ethereum stuff to MetaMask. You just put the restore code. It's not your 12-word one. It's your, but you can use that. But there's an export password option usually that it gives you your password. I forget what it's called, but it's different, and it's not like your keys. It's a passcode, not your keys, that will bring that over. And it still keeps it safe and on the other platforms. There
you go.
All right. Love you all. Love you, Campbell. Stay out of trouble, Campbell. And great work, by the way. I love all of the things you've been doing lately. And I think Friday or Saturday will be when we have Mike on again. I will talk to him and get that figured out, what works with him, and I will start creating the streams a day or two ahead of time, so that
just give me a day or two and I'll be there. Yeah,
for sure. And
I know.
Well,
I can disappear for hours.
As soon as we get a hold of Paul, we will also doing one with Paul Cook right away. And we were supposed to have another one with Dustin. He was going to come on tonight, but he was busy. Berserker Bear there, because he just did one with Michelle last week. But we will also be doing one with him pretty quick. Yeah, right. That's really good.
Well, there you go, guys. What a lineup, hey? It's going to be the stars of Tartaria. Tartarian talkback.
Yes, I will be doing Carillion photography, and we've discussed it, and we're going to start doing Carillion photography on cathedrals and other sacred sites to see what the real energy coming out of them is. Boom!
Nice.
And I will leave it all with that.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to buy one of those cameras. Oh, am I still here?
Wrong button. Wrong button. I'm back. Bye, Cam. Hi, guys. Bye, guys. Love you all. You are all beautiful people. I love you. And lastly, I'm just going to say, I actually, in my geometrical model, the disk is the first dimension. It is a point. It is a flat point. It is your point of reference. That is a disk. That is number one. It contains your information, like a record, like a page in a book, of that moment of time. It is that perspective, that reference. And then number two is the rod, the line connecting your 2 points of reference, a pole that is polarized in the middle, and thus your magnetism. And your third dimension is your 1, 2, 3 dimensions of your sphere. And so it goes disk, pole, sphere, and then connecting into through consciousness, through space-time. There's everything essentially exists, and the more I look into it, there's evidence of everything. So I won't confirm or deny or argue anything, and I support discussion, dialogue, and respect, and looking into and debating all information that comes forward, and respect other people's beliefs, and then they will respect your own and come to the most logical conclusion. And the majority of the times you will find out that either everybody is right or everybody is wrong, or someone's right, someone's wrong, but it's everything. It's whatever you want to focus on becomes your reality. That is the power of manifestation in reality. Love you all. Have a blessed weekend. Ta-ta.